Today we're sitting with Nazia Erum, the author of Mothering a Muslim, in which she carefully documents how Muslim children from upper middle class families are discriminated against in their schools. And this discrimination stems from conversations that I had in living rooms, at homes, from the politics that is being bandied about at home itself, in communities around them, in their neighborhoods. So Nazia, what initially started you on this path to write this book?
When I had a child myself. I guess once you become a mother, every moment goes in worrying about what is to become of the kid, what kind of a future will the kid have, and how can I protect the child in every single way. I mean, that's a universal feeling of motherhood. So when I had my child, the year was 2014, and as we know, there were a lot of rhetorics in the air. And I wanted a positive book. I wanted to reject any kind of fear that anybody was trying to make me feel. So I wanted to write a positive book. As a new mother, you want to feel positive about why you have brought in a child and how the child will grow up. So that is what this is supposed. And in fact, I found that narrative of Muslim motherhood missing in the way we talk. I found a lot about Muslim women. I found a lot about Muslim men, but nothing about the Muslim mother out there. How were her challenges any different from any of her counterparts? And as a millennial mother, I did not want to feel any different. And I did not believe I was any different. So it was important for me to talk to other millennial Muslim mothers and find out what are our challenges. And what I found out, I wasn't ready for this. Even after writing the book, I'm not ready for this. I don't think any mother would ask her child to hate another child. I don't think any mother would want that.
Well, the large part of this book talks largely about the fear that is palpable in minority communities, largely, especially since this majoritarian government has come into power. And
The book actually does not talk about that. The book talks about how the child is going out there and is being reminded by the new rhetorics in the air that she is different. So in fact, there are two parts of the book. The first part talks about when the child goes out into the school or into the playgrounds, into the world, they're constantly reminded of their Muslim identity and straitjacketed into it. And when they come back to their homes, they are constantly reminded by the community itself that you are never Muslim enough. You have to keep doing more. So imagine the child is kind of trapped in a vortex of, what am I? They're telling me you are this, and while the Muslims themselves are saying you're not Muslim enough. So where does the child go? Imagine the kind of difficulty the child will have in figuring out this world for themselves and figuring out their own identity for themselves.
Your first story actually spoke volumes to me, Azania's story, where she starts to shriek in the back of the car, saying the Muslims are coming. And the question that you ask over there is very heartbreaking. How do you tell a child she is what she fears?
You know, when I heard that story, I remember that mother. So I called her up and I told her, she did not know me, we met through some mutual connections, and I told her I am so and so and I want to talk to you. And the book is called Mothering a Muslim. She's like, but I have only mothered a human. Why should it be a Muslim? And I could completely understand her point of view, and I agree with the point of view. But when she told me this story, in fact, I could relate to it so much because my own child, I've never told her she is a Muslim. She knows Allah. She knows how to do the namaz. She's just 3. Why should I straitjacket her and tell her that you are a Muslim or that's a Hindu or that's a Sikh or that's a Christian? I have not yet compartmentalized humans for her. She knows God. She celebrates, in fact, she listens to stories from all religions that are shared in a school, and she is completely okay with it. So I was just wondering how to tell her this. How do you tell a child?
Absolutely.
And so when that child, and if I don't tell her this, now the new challenge was, if I don't tell her that she is a Muslim, like Azania, tomorrow somebody, it's in the air, right? It's an easy handle to hate Muslims right now. And if she borrows that hatred from outside, how will I tell her that, look, you are a Muslim, you don't need to, it's not the other. So in fact, just as I said, she's just 3, so she's just learning to draw, to color, learning the different shades, different colors. So the easiest thing to draw right now is the Indian national flag, and that's taught in the school, that's taught at home. Straight lines, horizontal lines, vertical lines, colors, 3 different stark colors.
I remember trying to make a roti in the shape of India,
yes,
because those are the things we learned as a child.
And for a child, it's very exciting because every day she sings the national anthem, she salutes the flag. And so wherever we go out, I find her saying, "Mama, India ka flag." That's, I know she wrote that little bit of pronunciation is not right on this side, but she'll be like, "Mama, I can see India ka flag." Wherever we go for long drives and wherever she can see, she gets excited because it's something that she can identify. Because it's outside, and for a child, there's so many things to take in. So one thing you identify, you're excited about it. That's how a 3-year-old is.
And in fact, what we learn as children is what stays with us for all our lives.
Yeah. So so she knows she's an Indian. She knows she loves the Indian flag. But right now she's in a play school. She goes to the big school this year, next year.
That must be terrifying for you to let her let her go.
What if one of those stories in the book happens for my child? And I know it will, because it's happening with almost everybody out there.
In fact, the name becomes an identifier.
How will I tell her that tomorrow somebody says, "Go to Pakistan, you're a Pakistani"? How will I tell her that the flag that she loved so much, that somebody is doubting her on that? I mean, how do I make sense of that for her? I still don't have an answer for this.
In fact,
why as a mother do I need to why do I need to have an answer ready for my child?
In fact, you juxtapose it pretty well at the end of the book, in the epilogue, when you talk about how a child does not even know how to fear the dark until he or she is told to fear the dark. So what we learn as children is what we carry on.
And another reason that I keep saying that why I wrote this for mothers, because I understand that fathers need to have equal part in parenting, and I think all fathers should try that. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that right now in India, fathers, if they're trying, is really good. I support all of them, but they are not yet there. So, but as a mother, I can see how my child picks up small nuances, things that I subconsciously do, and she picks those up, and I can see, like, the way she stands in front of a mirror is something that I would be doing. The way she treats a stranger or the house help will be how I do it. So the children are imbibing meanings from our actions without us knowing about it. So even if you have not, as in such and such words, taught hate to your child, and if your child has borrowed that yet, we need to ask ourselves that we might not be complicit to what's happening out there, but our complacency might be the reason that this rise in bullying on religious lines has become so widespread.
Did you also find that a lot of schools do not have a lot of Muslims on their admission rolls? Do you think they're segregated from the beginning?
That is not a part of my research, and I don't think so, because a very wise friend and a school administrator himself told me that schools just worry about the money.
All right.
They are, if the segregation is happening, it's not to attack a community, but probably it's because it makes more monetary sense. Because the section segregation that we have talked about, because it kind of helps in making the timetables and allotting teachers, and it's just easier for them. So it just makes administrative sense rather than as such a thought towards it. But at the end of the day, we also have to understand the teachers and the students, the administrators are all coming from the same society as we live in. These are not some people who are immune to what's happening. They are you, me, and my neighbor. So in fact, a lot of bullying is coming from a lot of teachers. Many students have told me how a teacher would flippantly say, "Tum to bade hoge, Osama hi to banoge."
But these are affluent schools.
And these are affluent schools. That's my
And
point.
you're paying a large sum of money. Shouldn't they be taking some degree of greater action?
Absolutely, I do. I'm not saying that they are not responsible. I'm saying that they probably don't know, because I did write back to all the schools named in the book. And of course,
no, you also spoke of how older children would then refuse to talk about such bullying, where it was the younger kids who would initially complain and then slowly stop complaining.
It's highly underreported. The underreporting is immense, because as a young child, when it happens to you when you are 6, 7, it's, कि यार बच्चों को पता नहीं है उन्होंने कर दिया, kind of push it under the carpet. And when the child finds that it has not been addressed and the hurt is there because the intonation was such that the hurt remains, then the child realizes that there's no point tattling about it again. They decide to take things on their own. I don't think our children trust us. They don't trust us to help them, handhold them and help them navigate the world of fear and hostility that we have created for them. I don't think, and this is not about Muslim children, make no mistake. This book is not about Muslim children.
Well, at the end of the day, even the children who are calling out these discriminatory names.
This book is about all children out there, because hate swallows up everyone. It does not just remain with the tormented, but hate swallows up the tormentor as well. And frankly, today when we send our children to schools, we don't know which one our children will be, whether they will be tormented or whether they will be the tormentors.
In fact, you've spoken about how even those who are tormented can sometimes be pushed into religion because they suddenly begin to feel that it is their identity, and then they begin to dress a particular way, maybe take more interest in religious texts.
Yes. A lot of children, they say that we thought we are millennials, and then you are being straight bracketed into such things. Then you decide, then why not just be a Muslim in your face so that you belong at least somewhere. They say that we stop belonging to friends we have grown up with for 18 years of our lives, and suddenly they change when...
Even food creates boundaries, as you spoke about this boys and another boy coming to him and saying, "You eat beef, I can't eat from your tiffin."
Okay, that was like a 10-year-old or 12-year-old, I believe.
These are concepts you cannot understand at that age.
I can still understand it at 10, 12. But a 5-year-old being asked, "Acha to Musalman ho?" And the other 5-year-old responds, "Haan, main Musalman hu, lekin main beef nahi khata."
So this is a new generation.
I didn't know whether to laugh at this because it was very, very innocently said. And even the mother was like, "I don't know how to respond to my child." This is how he responded when he was asked if you're Muslim. And he's 5. He's in kindergarten. These are top schools. How did a 5-year-old know to say this? Mother is like, "We have never switched on television in our school, in our homes. We don't put on news. We read the newspaper. We don't discuss it." And I have no idea how my child picked up this ki main beef nahi khata. Imagine all this jumlebazi that we think that happens only on television, all this 9 p.m. rhetorics and accusations and debates that we think is limited to the idiot box.
Yeah.
It's not limited to the idiot box. It's happening.
It steps out into the real world
around us. The children are listening. So I remember my kid's doctor saying this, that remember, you are not the one who will be watching your kid. It's the kid who will be watching you. And all these stories tell us.
That is a very telling statement.
All these stories tell us how the kids are watching us, learning from us. As I said, even if we are complicitly involved in this or we have been complacent about allowing this to happen, either ways, all parents are responsible. And I think as mothers, we need to collectively address this. If we are not worried about this, if we are not worried, then this hate will swallow up all our children and they'll spit out such disturbed adults that we have to be worried about the India that's the next generation going to be.
Now, talking about the next generation, it is now the previous generation that has been, say, full of hate over Pakistan breaking away from India, and a certain idea of what Muslims are, especially with the rise of terror across the world, with the rise of ISIS, with Taliban blowing up the World Trade Center in 2001. All of that is going to push out on this new generation and create this new cycle of hate. And is there no way of stemming that? Is there no systematic way?
I mean, the only systematic way I can think of is, first of all, we recognize this problem. We stop living in denial. I think that to be the first step. Because as of now, all the schools I wrote to, except one who said who does not want to comment on this, rest everyone said that nothing like this ever happened to me. And these are schools that I know where it has been reported. I won't name them, but I know even where it has been reported, the schools have come back to say, tell me, the principals have specially called me or written to me and said that no, we have not had such a thing. A few schools did show concern. A few schools I know that did interesting workshops with their children. But these are a handful. This problem that I have talked about is just the tip of the iceberg that I have been able to address. This, I'm afraid, is a problem in every school, at every level of the society across the country. Delhi, it's rampant, but other cities are not behind. It's catching up fast. 2000 last elections were the first ones. As election by election, every city will come at par with Delhi. The trend is very clear.
Do you not think these children are now imbibing a fear that they really should not at this age, which is going to affect even the way they play in a playground, the way they
the
sit in a
result
library?
is, in fact, that parents have started. I found so many parents making sure their children don't do certain things so that they don't get associated with certain images. There's a form of self-censorship that has come in. Like, I remember this father asking his kid on Eid not to go down to play in the kurta pajama, the traditional wear. I remember this women who have been told that we have asked not to go into certain areas, to go out of certain areas because we wear the hijab or something. So, and there are many, many more stories. Kids being asked not to say certain words when in public, at airports. I mean, how do you tell a 5-year-old कि अच्छा बच्चा मुझे यहाँ पर अम्मी जान मत कहना, मुझे यहाँ पर मम्मा कहना या मम्मी कहना? And what do you think the 5-year-old will think? Ki why all of a sudden am I being asked to change? Because the word that you call your parent from, it's so dear to you. It's just natural to you.
Absolutely.
It's the first instinctive to you. How can you just change it for like next 1 hour?
So, also, even if you observe, say, you spoke about this mother who was advised by her friends not to wear her hijab when she went out to non-Muslim localities.
Yeah, and in fact, not giving them ambiguous names. So all this is happening a lot, but how will this play out for the next generation? There's so many things we already need to worry about. There's the blue whale game. There's so many things as a parent you need to be worried about.
I mean, and just screen time for children.
This is added nuisance. Do you think? And as I said, our kids don't trust us. We don't even know this is happening. So many mothers who were like, nahi, all is well and hunky-dory. What are you saying? India is actually, it's just something that happens on television. It's not really happening in the society around us. So many mothers told me this, that no, my child does not get bullied. She will be like, and proudly call her child, आओ बताओ आंटी को. And the child will be like, मम्मा आपको मैंने नहीं बताया, ऐसा 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 हुआ, मुझे तो बोला जाता है, बहुत चिढ़ाया जाता है. And the mother would be shocked and embarrassed, and out of that embarrassment they'll make sure that the child does not say anything more. You want to, as a mother, I think we know कि जब चोट लगती है ना, we address it, उसको मरहम पट्टी करना है. We don't hide it under the layers of branded clothes. That is what we're doing, but that is what as parents we're doing. We are hiding the hurt of the society, the rift in the society, by hiding it under branded layers of clothes and by pretty talk. That is not how you do it. We need to address this only, and we can do that by recognizing the fact that this is happening and it's widespread.
Do you think
another thing, hate and love are not casual words. Why have we made them into such casual words?
I have a similar argument that way. I feel that people bandy about the word love too much. It's I love that burger, I love this dress. Whereas love has got a much heavier meaning to it.
I think once we start taking things, I think we have to stop being selfish. I see a lot of people right now trying to say, ki, Mothering a Muslim, that name of the book, I don't want to read it. Look at the name of the book, you're trying to, incite this on religious lines.
I mean, I was reading this on the metro and people were looking at me as to what are you reading?
Which yes, and
I was looking back into
I think you are being selfish when you say that, because you are only worried about yourself. You're not worried about your children.
About the larger
You're not worried
diaspora.
about the Indian children. About all Indian children. As I keep saying, this book is not about Muslim children. This book is about all children and all parents.
Do you think your research may say newer parents who are about to give birth, do you think they will be afraid of giving their children Muslim names which are very prominently Muslim?
See, it's going two ways. It's either they are giving very, very prominent Muslim names, or they're not giving very ambiguous names. Because as I said, there are many dynamics at play. There's just not just one thing. There are many dynamics at play. So, in fact, if you remember, there's this, is it in the stories or is it in the interview later, about this girl from one of the really respected South Delhi schools, like really respected for its liberal and balanced values. So this child says that all of a sudden, during the run-up to the elections, that the conversations changed, and all of a sudden I've started feeling othered by, like, she'd step into the classroom and everybody would become quiet because they were obviously discussing pro certain governments. The teacher would be like, oh, wo to bahut purani baat thi, this is the way forward, and there's a teachers did propaganda in class. So the child started feeling and
alienated,
isolated, and singled out. The moment she felt that, she said that these are the children, these are my friends I grew up with. If it takes them 1 year of campaigning to change who they are and to look at me in a different way, suddenly I become only a Muslim classmate for them.
And it is not those children's fault also, in its own way. It is what they're learning at home.
Not. So she said that I better start behaving like a Muslim. I'll start wearing the hijab just to make a statement out there. If this is what you want me to be, I'll better be. Older boys tell me that उसने वो जब भी कोई टेररिस्ट अटैक होता है वो तो आके हमसे बोलते हैं ये क्या कर दिया तुमने, तो हम भी उनको दिखाएंगे हम क्या कर सकते हैं, we'll also hit back. So there's a lot of anger, resentment for being held responsible for what you have absolutely no connection with.
And it is tearing away at our country's social fabric, bit by bit, this hatred, this fear.
Forget social fabric, forget everything. I think it's affecting every child. Do you want your child to hate another child?
Never.
I think that is a question for all mothers out there right now. Do you want your child, your 5-year-old, your 15-year-old, to hit another child for being just...
differences of religion, which is something...
And how do you think that will spiral out when they grow up? When they know this is allowed, when they know this is an easy handle. We need to really introspect.
And these children do not understand the history of where this hate is stemming from. So it must make it a form of...
I don't think elders understand that as well.
That's true.
As I said, our kids don't trust us. They don't trust us to handhold them in this fear and hostility that we have created around them. Elders don't, we as parents don't know how to navigate the way. And we have left the kids to find their own and fight out on their own. And I feel bad for the kids out there doing this, standing up all this all alone.
Do you have a flight plan of sorts for when your daughter goes to school? If something like this happens?
I don't. I still don't. After having spoken to so many people, what do you say to that child? Like one mother said that, she told the child that it's okay to be a Pakistani, first of all. It's another country. But you are not a Pakistani. You are an Indian.
I thought that was very well put.
Yes, I thought that was so... I believe that as a woman, you're every woman that you meet in your lifetime. We borrow, we learn from each other. And that is where the book started from. It was supposed to be a learning experience for me and to borrow from stories from across all mothers. And that is what the book is. It's a collective memoir of Muslim motherhood in India.
You speak about how your mother said her prayers and then sent you out so that you could be wrapped in a bubble.
And I can understand that. At the time, it was
and that's
so
every
funny,
mother.
you know.
That's every mother.
And then
it
was so funny, like, you know, Mama, you're so emotional.
Yeah.
Mama, you grow up and say, Mama, you're so emotional. Stop being this.
Mothers get crazy if you don't come back on time.
It's funny that, oh, don't do this.
Absolutely.
But now I can understand that. Now I totally relate to her.
Religion is not something children grasp very well. When I was about 8 years old,
I think religion is what our mothers tell us it is.
It is. But luckily, I
Till
was
we grow
asked.
up and discover it for ourselves.
I was asked, do you want to be a Sikh or a Hindu? When I was 8 years old, and and they were like, why don't you navigate both religions for the next few years and figure it out? And I went back to them when I was 11, and I did not know what the word atheist meant exactly, but I said I'm atheist until I was 19 years old.
Because you didn't want to choose sides.
I didn't want to choose it. In fact, I didn't particularly like going and bowing my head to pray in the temple. I kind of enjoyed the Gurudwara more. I found a sense of community over there. But luckily, my parents never force-fed any kind of religion, and they stressed on how India is a secular country and how you must never hate. And I'm very grateful, because that is a learning that has lasted me a lifetime, and I hope I can pass on to my children.
But I don't think it's in our control anymore. We have let this spiral out of control too much. Even if our complacency has allowed it to spiral out of control. I know many parents who have taught this to their children, and yet their children have behaved in ways that we wouldn't want them to. Because I said it's an easy handle. Bullying happens everywhere, has always happened. But now this is the easiest target.
Angle.
This is the easiest target to say that, that you're a terrorist, go feel bad, go shoo away. Just like push you into a corner so that you are not allowed to. That's how kids are, right? That's what bullying is, to push you into a corner, to make you feel small.
And when you speak about
this is so easy now.
How teachers are complicit, in a sense, I mean, not all of them, obviously, you have fantastic teachers out there as well. But there's a story you tell of how one teacher spoke of 2002 and how she said that was a cleanup operation that...
Or the hostel dorm master.
Yes.
Saying that not all Muslims should be in the same dorm because we don't want to make it a Pakistan.
I luckily grew up in a dorm where we were 16 children, 16 girls, and there were 5 Muslims, and of them 4 would pray every day. But we would let them be in peace. And I'm grateful even schools stressed on allowing any kind of religion to be. Kids would do their Navratra fast, kids would pray in every possible way.
That's how it should be, that's how it should be.
And
many schools say, in fact, many principals call me up personally from the list that I have mentioned, and I have mentioned the schools that have called back and shown concern, and they actually said that our school is extremely secularly grounded and we don't take secularism to be a light matter. And so I could see the genuine concern in their voice and their statements, but they did not know that this is happening. As I said, it's so underreported. I mean, how does a child go and tell this to a school which has, I mean, how many Muslim teachers do we have in school? I'm not saying that they are not taking in Muslim teachers, I'm not saying that how many are there. See, I'm not trying to blame people out here. Let's stop reacting to this as a blame game. This is, I'm inviting everyone, all mothers, all institutions, all parents, all schools, all teachers to come sit together and introspect on this. And if needed, talk on this. This is a conversation that needs to be had right now. That this is not about one individual or one school or one child or one community. It's about all of us.
Do you think it gets worse for Muslims in the lower strata?
It does. It definitely does.
But
that was why it was important to talk about these privileged elite schools. It was important to bring out this data because it kind of tells you that it's in every house, it's in your front yard, it's in your drawing room. Don't think you are privileged enough. You cannot be privileged enough to hide from this hate. It's coming from all of us.
And in fact, it's forcing people from a particular religion to come together. So yesterday I'd gone for dinner, and the community where I was at, I was told by my friend who is a Christian, is largely Christian. and it's largely Catholics who live there. Certain areas of Delhi, there's only Sikhs largely living together. SDA started off as a very Sikh central place. 1984, I mean, it was one of the worst hit areas. This is becoming a segregation which is not just in schools, it is stepping out into the real world, into where we live.
So what was the idea of India? The idea of India was to live together. I believe that is what it was. How are we living together if we are segregating our houses and then segregating our kids in schools?
In fact, they're teaching people to hate Jawaharlal Nehru, who espoused this idea of India.
So, no, as I said, this is not about blame game. This is not about playing a Muslim card. This is not about playing a Hindu card. Any card you play today, you are being selfish because you are not worrying about the children. Any card you play today, any political party, everybody is equally complicit in this matter.
So I was speaking to this teacher after I read this book. She's a Christian mother herself. And she was, just about last year, she was trying to teach children about Janmashtami in school. And they were drawing out certain symbols. And then a Muslim child in her class piped up and said, I refuse to do this. This is not my religion. So this is when you speak about how it can go both ways, that extremism, because it's not just hatred coming from, say, Hindu children towards Muslim children. That hatred is then being stemmed in the other direction as well.
Many teachers told me how Muslim children refuse to enter a mandir when they go out for school excursions.
They will not sing the Gayatri mantra while the entire class is.
Absolutely. As I said, it's not about blaming. The second half of the book talks about the haram bullies within the community and how you can never be Muslim enough. Even if you are a complete burqa wali, they'll find a new level of Islamism that you need to adhere to. So it's never enough. So I have talked about, that authentic Muslim women, I've talked about that in there. I've met all kinds of Muslim women out there, and all of them were espousing the same values, talking about the same values. And be it a hijabi gynecologist or a completely burqa wearing ex-Facebook, ex-Google employee, or an extremely modern basketball player, scientist, teacher, they're everywhere. So, yet they all have the same worry. There's also this worry about, if you look at the statistics again, of research done, that a lot of children who go into extremism from the Muslim community do not come from the lower strata.
You spoke about that.
They're coming from people who have
studied in good schools, great schools in fact.
Who are MBAs, who are doctors. We have to ask, what have we done to alienate them?
They've been pushed into a corner somehow to believe that.
It's not, as I said, it's not just one thing that happens that triggers you into something. There are usually many factors playing together. So there's of course the rise of extremism there. I've also talked about how there's a correlation between the kind of dialogue we have out there with the rise of extremism internationally, Islamic extremism. So, so as I said, that there are many factors that come into play. And as a Muslim mother, just too much on our plates to worry about right now. We are worried if our child, like this story from ISB, where the child had gone and had never before been very religious, and suddenly comes back and says that I am fasting for all during the Ramzan. And the mother says, how do you have sehri? It's like we have 5 different Muslim kids from different countries who come together and we do a sehri. And the mother says, please be very afraid of what kind of brand of Islam you are going to be told is the right one. I think that's another problem. Be it any religion, we tell our kids that this is it. Ye seedhi lakeer hai. We don't give them space to figure out things themselves.
Also because what we believe is then what is right. And that is also what you want to teach your children. I don't have a child myself, but I do have some idea of what I'm sure I'll be tossed into utter confusion.
As a parent, I think we need to do that. We need to stop being a chip on our shoulder that we know it all. I think we all are children. We all are constantly learning about things, and
in fact, relearning when our kids.
So I think for the kids also, we need to understand that we need to give them a bit more space to figure things out. and not hand them down straight-jacketed versions of what we believe in. That is also a needed way to, that would be parenting, yes.
So what your book truly actually puts forward is that a conversation is what is the most necessary aspect of what we require today.
A conversation and a recognition of the problem.
All right. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me over.